Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome to the August 26th Special Board of Education meeting. Hope everyone's having a great summer so far. Nice to see everyone. I'm going to start with board committee reports. Christine?
Sure. Okay, this is worth it. So the policy committee met this summer to go through a plethora of policies at the state. At both the state and the federal level. We also looked at a specific local policy that's actually on our agenda for this evening. It is a volunteer and coaching policy. And we just want to make it clear to the community that the policy establishes a clear and consistent framework for coaches and volunteer coaches who work with our student athletes. It is designed to protect the student's safety and ensure appropriate training and screening, establish clear lines of authority and supervision, and preserve the fairness and integrity of the athletic selection process. Importantly, the policy does not discourage parent or community involvement. Rather, it provides a structured process through which volunteers can contribute to our athletic programs while ensuring that all individuals working with the student meets the same standards of qualification, accountability, and conduct.
Thank you, Christine. I know you've been doing a lot of work as the policy chair, so we appreciate that. Does anybody else have any committee report? No? Okay, so with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Villanueva for her superintendent report.
All right, head up to the podium. Good evening, Board of Education and members of the public, and to our administrative team who is joining us this evening, and for those who may be watching online. It has been a quick and very busy summer, but I'm happy to say that we are geared up and getting ready for that first day of school, so very excited for that. And this Friday is our official convocation as we welcome back all of our faculty. So it's been a wonderful time just getting ready for our events. That being said, there's been a lot going on this summer, and so I'm glad that we also have an opportunity today to share some of the information that was previously shared in a community forum in terms of transportation updates, and then some other updates that have been happening around the district. Just because we are at the start of the school year again, looking at our Board of Education goals is something that we've been doing as an administrative team over the last couple of days. And we will continue to look at the 4 goals that we focus in on as a district and the strategic priorities that we are working towards achieving over a certain amount of time. And I believe in October, you will have another more in-depth presentation from me talking a little bit more about what the goals are for the next little while. In September, you'll also have upcoming presentations from all of our building administrators on how opening of school went and some of the goals that they are working on for this coming year. So just a quick look at those goals, which remain the same from last year as well. One more thing to just take note of, and you'll see that the image isn't too different, but it's just a little bit updated, and this will go under another kind of graphic design experience this year. Last year, we used the year to try on a vision, and I used the analogy of we were trying on a jacket to see if it fits, and after moving through last year, I am happy to report that the vision is one that seems to be sticking, and so we are now moving into the good work of, with the administrative team and soon to be with our faculty, defining exactly what it means to have these 4 pillars of experience, state-of-the-art instruction, of space, state-of-the-art learning environments, wellness, state-of-the-art health and wellness partnerships, and community. Embracing those civic roles that we want our students to take part in. So that's part of the good work that will happen this year, and I'm glad to say that our vision is official. And we have some experiences that are coming up in the fall, we have some visitors coming to our district from the Tri-State Consortium, and they will be great thought partners and critical friends to provide some insight to us on how we might be able to advance this vision with depth this coming year and years to come. Okay, to jump right into it, I did want to just look at the school hours one more time as we are coming up on that first day of school. We do have some adjustments happening at Waverly School, where they are now the third tier of that time. We had a lot of feedback from the past year about getting from one school to another to pick up multiple children, and so we did push Waverly to that third tier. We also understand that this is an adjustment, and so whether there's after-school activities or things that families are going to straight after school is done, we have been in communication with some of our community partners where a number of our students attend events after school or classes or whatever that may be, and I want to thank our community partners for making small adjustments on their end as well, knowing that our Waverly students will be getting out a little bit later. Also, I just wanted to point out that we do have new early school drop-off, a pilot, and a new late school pickup. It's a 20-25 minute window on the beginning and the end of each day at no cost for families who might need to go off to work sooner than later, and they can drop their students with supervision at the school. This is not the same as early or after school care through our Right at School program. This is merely just an extended supervisory period. So that those times have been included there as well. And of course, at the middle school and high school, our breakfast is served by 7:15, and our libraries are open for any students who are looking to come in and get a little of extra studying done. And of course, the school building at the secondary level here, this campus is open till 4 p.m. So you see all the big posters that are up here at the front of the dais. These are the same posters that were provided over at the community forum that was given on August 18th. And if you've been tuning in, you probably have seen these images before. If you're only tuning in now, we are just giving updates on what the travel patterns are for each of our schools. If you've been driving around our parking lots, you may also see that some of our parking lots are being redone or relined or updated so that we can anticipate and increase the flow of traffic as we anticipate we may have some more driving families and some more foot traffic this coming year with the adjustments to busing. One of the notable things you can see in the high school, middle school campus is that we are now going to have a two-way entrance and exit through the Stewart Place gate, and families and cars will be able to enter down through California Road and up through the gate and exit out onto 22, and folks coming in from the other side of town can come in and use the loop and exit right through the gate on the other side. You'll also see that we are going to be deploying our personnel, including our Eastchester Police School Resource Officer, at key places so that they can help with traffic direction. And our security folks, they are definitely personnel who can stay on our campus and at least look for student safety as there is traffic moving in and out and people get used to the routines. So you can see some of that. And again, a big thank you to our facilities and custodial team who have been working feverishly not only to get our phase of construction done, that's part of our capital project, and also cleaning and turning our buildings over for the start of school so that they look all shiny and new, but also working on the outside landscaping and parking work here to make sure that we are creating some good space for people to be able to move in and out. Waverly School, one of our more tighter campuses. If you have a child at Waverly, you'll know that Hall Avenue is typically the only entrance that really works for drop-off. We are opening up a second entrance now, moving through Bellevue Avenue, and cars will be able to move up through the teacher parking lot and wrap around the school, and there will be I call it the kiss and ride car door open service at Waverly, where the personnel come out, help our youngest learners out of the car, out of their car seat harnesses, and then into the building, and then we will be offering some more lead to the cars so that we don't back up Main Street as much as we possibly can. And again, our security and our student resource officers will be located in key places, and our security coordinator also will be deployed. So you can see where the arrow is there, and the construction is happening where the orange and the pink lines are. Greenvale School, also a tight area, but also one very popular by our Trader Joe's customers. And so we have been very carefully looking at how we can have 2 entrance and exits for drop-off. And so one for folks coming up from Maple Street can have drop-off through the back parking lot or the side parking lot off of Maple Street. We are doing some parking relining there so that parking spots are moved and we have a wider space for cars and foot traffic to come in and out of the school there. In addition, we know that the Wilmot and 22 intersection is one of high concern in our community, and so we are working directly with our Eastchester Police Department to have PD officer there to be directing traffic. In addition, as we have walkers that will now be coming up New Wilmot Road, we will have a crossing guard and personnel and or town personnel at Webster and New Wilmot so that we can have our students come up the sidewalk, cross Webster, get to 22, traffic person there as well from the PD, and then to take them across 22 over onto Maple so that they can walk into the Greenvale area. In addition, we are asking cars who are coming up from 22 and coming down Swift, which is the lane where Trader Joe's is to not make a right, but rather go down left through Racino and go straight back down to help alleviate some of that congestion. Much of this is going to be a new routine for Greenvale, and so we thank the community in advance for just the grace in the first couple of weeks of school while people get into routine. But once that routine is under their belt, it's going to move fairly quickly. And thank you again also to the administrative team for the creative ideas of working with our PD and those who work in traffic control to think of viable prototypes. We had many prototypes, and this is the one that worked out. So there's some of where the new lining for Greenvale School's side drop-off will be. In Hutchinson School, where we do have a school zone at the front of the school area there, we are trying to alleviate some of the congestion that we anticipate on Mill Road. We typically have some congestion on Mill, but we want to make sure that we can redirect now that we have more walkers coming in from the neighborhood behind and around the surrounding Ann Hutch area. So we are going to be using Joyce Road as one of the entrances, where now Ann Place, which used to be one way, is now 2 ways, and we can have our cars come in through the backside of Ann Hutch, wrap around the parking lot, and exit straight out of Ann Place, and they can either go out to Mill. And then we have our families who are coming up from the other side up Mill. They can still come in through the main entrance, but head right to the back and exit through Ann Place as well. So Ann Hutchinson has done some good thinking around just where lines are going to be drawn and where there's little walkways being created so that students can safely disembark from the car when they're coming in from Mill and get into the building right away. These are just some images from some of the construction that's been happening. And again, this is construction that our custodial and facilities team and some local vendors have been able to provide us, and good partners through our town to help us with some of the striping on some of the roads. So I want to thank everybody for just their collaborative effort and spirit as we've been working on some of these parking lot adjustments. And additional parking will be added to the back of Greenvale so that any spots that were dislocated at the beginning or at the front or the side will then be pushed to the back of the building. Okay. We've had a number of questions around appeals, and so I just wanted to provide an update. The main question around appeals was, were any families who appealed actually granted transportation? The answer is yes, some families were granted appeals. We had approximately 295 families who submitted an appeal, and I do want to just reiterate that every single appeal was reviewed individually as it came in through the form, and the review was situated within many different parameters. The main parameter, however, is that we must stay within the law in line with New York State law of what our mileage is at 1 mile for K-5 and at 1.5 miles for 6-12. Then, in addition to that, we look at any IEP or 504 or special education or ADA or medical accommodations that may need to be provided to students. In addition to that, as well as we do every year, we have some childcare provisions that are made. And then, of course, in addition to that as well, if there are appeals that are new registrant families that are coming in, we may need to look at seats that are available on the bus. We also have families who have family dynamics that adjust over the summer as well, and whether it's custody or whether it's moving or whatever it may be, we always have to look at those as well. So those are all related, and each layer, after we seat those who are at the 1 mile and the 1.5 mile marker, we look at those with special education needs. We then look at other needs that come in through childcare. Then we look at all the other pieces, and we continue to register and seat our students who live within the parameters who may be new to the district. I do want to just stress that we did move from 18 large yellow buses down to 6. So by sheer fact of just the reduction of the number of vehicles, we do have less seats. But again, we are also utilizing our vans and our minibuses for special education transport as well. The EUFSD Transportation Hub continues to be a button on our main website, and if you go to click it, you will see any of the communications that have come out. They're dated and they're put out there. I will address publicly again, we know how difficult it was to receive those letters that were rescinded twice. And I just want to firmly acknowledge that that did cause confusion, and I do know that our transportation department and all the folks who are working on this project was trying their best to fix the errors that were essentially occurring. So on August 13th, that final update went out, which then gave an update to all of our families on the most recent changes to those transportation pieces, and families were notified at that point. We've had some questions around, administrators, the cost of administrators and the cost of busing. Can we swap it out and put all the busing back? It is a very fair question, and I understand it, and it is definitely reasonable for folks who are seeing a significant adjustment in their routine to be asking this question, especially if we have some budget challenges. What I do want to just stress is that there is a very different role for school buses as well as our administrative positions. And so, although it may seem simplistic enough to say, well, if you get rid of one, then you can have the other, we actually need both. And so, assistant principals, administrators, principals, assistant superintendents all play a role around, and you can see the bulleted list there. I won't read it out to you. And so, I do ask that we, as a Board of Education and as a district, hold ourselves accountable by every year looking at evaluating every position and the need for it, and we certainly will do that, and we will look at that within the resources that we provide. But we also have the charge and the responsibility to provide and maintain an appropriate leadership structure that is conducive to and in service to the 1,000 students as part of this school district. So thank you for the questions from the public, and I just wanted to address that it certainly was not overlooked. It is something that we understand. Some folks have also been asking just, what is the law around school bus mileage? And New York State law essentially, or guidance, states that students who are in grades K through 8 who live more than 2 miles would be eligible for busing, and for students who are in grades 9 through 12 who live more than 3 miles up to a distance of 15 miles would essentially get busing. If, just as a recall, if you recall, one of the first propositions that we put forward was to actually stick to the New York State guidance at 2 miles and 3 miles. We heard the outcry from the community. We lowered it to 1 mile and 1.5 miles, and that's where we are landing here. Okay, and this one is another one that I want to just head on address here. This is probably the most asked question. And the question is, I used Google Maps and Waze, and why is the school district's mileage calculation different? And so I see the emails that come in from our families that show a Google map and say it's so different from the mileage that the district has provided us. So we do use an approved transportation system and software that collects and calculates our school bus mileage and distance from school to middle of driveway, I believe is what it is. They do use the county GIS information that is available, and although Google Maps and Waze may be different, we have used the similar and same way of managing our school bus routing as we have in many years in the past as well. And so there was nothing different this year. It just so happened that the mileage changed. Now, at the same time, I want to acknowledge that I see that it's hard to make a reconciliation when you see something different on Google Maps and when you see the calculation. But it is a software and it is a platform that is used by other school districts. It is vetted. It is considered a reliable and credible software as used in New York State. And we have, been asking the questions. How is it calculated? Where can we go to get this information? And so as we go down those rabbit holes as well, I know that the community is asking those same questions. The vendor continues to be the same vendor that we have always used, and they provide the information that they do when we ask, perhaps not to the depth that we would like, but we certainly are asking those questions. Although it feels a little unsettled right now, it is a community effort to start a successful year. And so I do want to thank our transportation and our administrative teams for their continued work throughout the summer. I know there have been bumps along the way, and I know there have been glitches and obstacles. And I want to thank our families and our town personnel as well for helping with problem solving. But we are excited to open our doors next week, and our teachers are going to be ready for welcoming our students back into their classrooms, and we're excited for a year of strong curricular experiences and programs. That's what we fought for as a district, to keep those programs and to keep that experience in the classroom that we hold so true to us and that we have come as an Eastchester community to want and to expect. So thank you for that. And thank you for this as well. Our state emergency funds as an update. As you know, and I wish I could give fast and quick answers that are just loops closed, but it takes levels of approval and adjustment and review to see if what we put forward is actually approved by the state, because $1.5 million of the overall $2 million state emergency funds we receive is specific to capital. So at this point in time, we have put forth 2 applications, which I will go into more depth at our next meeting, but it is around some of the parking lot work that we have been working on. It is around some of the technology infrastructure that has been aging that qualifies. It's around some of the safety structures that we had to cut from the budget in terms of our arts program at our high school on the stage, and looking at things that qualify like AED defibrillators, which are part of New York State law compliance that are required in our school district. And so all of those pieces have been put up for review, and we have not received any major approvals as of yet. But once we do get an official type of approval, then I'll always bring it back to the table to say this is what was put forward and this is what we were allowed. When it's declined, we put something else forward from there, and the goal is obviously to help offset the costs or things that we cut from our budget in order to get down to that 2.35% tax levy this year. Okay, so that's the end of the transportation update. And if I could make a little adjustment, I do want to welcome just somebody who is sitting in the audience today, and I see that Ms. Anisi is here this evening as well, to welcome Ms. Elise Olivo, who went through a very arduous interview process here to replace our Waverly assistant principal. And we are very lucky that she's coming to us after 15 years in the New York State Department of Education. She's not only worked as both a classroom instructor and a curriculum support at, I believe is PS 176 in the Bronx, but she has been an assistant principal since 2015. So she comes with her a wealth of knowledge and experience, and she also has a very in-depth special education background. And so we are so excited to invite and to welcome Ms. Olivo to the Eastchester family, and she's joined us for our administrative retreat these past 2 days, and so excited that you are open to all of the exercises and activities we've been going through. So maybe I will just invite Ms. Anisi and Ms. Olivo to come up to the front, and I see there's some flowers there as well, and we'll give you a round of applause. Welcome. Shaking your hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. V, and welcome, Ms. Olivo, to Waverly and to Eastchester. We're happy to have you. Do I have any questions from any of the trustees on Dr. Villanueva's presentation? Chrissy?
Hi, can you please tell us where is the district adding crossing guards?
Sure. So right now, we are confirming that we have a crossing guard at New Wilmot at Webster. And we are also looking at, it may not be a crossing guard, that is an actual type of employee employed by the town of Eastchester. It may be school personnel, it may be security personnel, it may also be Eastchester Police at some of the places that are pointed out here. So if we start at the high school, we always have a traffic officer at Lincoln and 22. We're going to have our security coordinator and also our security team down at the gate, which is now open for two-way traffic. We also typically have somebody at the backside in the Lincoln parking lot for the Eastchester Middle School drop-off area. And we anticipate that we may have somebody at the 22 and right at the entrance there. We usually have a body there. But our police department is also looking in at the cameras that are located right there, because they installed intuitive cameras to extend lights and to provide time for more cars to go in and out. However, we do think that the opening of the gate at Stewart will actually help with the traffic flow. So we will have personnel kind of spread throughout. Also, don't be surprised if you see actual school personnel that are educators or administrators out on the parking lots, just to help with some of that maneuvering. At Waverly, we typically have somebody at Hall and the back exit. You will also have our security coordinator or security personnel at Bellevue Avenue and Main Street area. And then typically we have a number of school personnel lined up at the cars to receive those who are coming out of the vehicles. And then there were some questions around whether or not we could have town personnel or EPD. I think it was on 22 and Fisher is what they were saying, but we did not have confirmation that there was going to be one there, but we do know that that was an intersection that we had our eyes on. For Greenvale School, that's where we will have EPD right at that Wilmot and 22 intersection, that crossing guard at Webster and New Wilmot. We anticipate we'll have the crossing guard right at the front still, Mr. John in shorts in the winter. And then we'll have school personnel at the side parking lot as well. And then potentially we will have our school security coordinator down in that Rashino area where that Swift and that intersection is as well. Then when it gets to Ann Hutchinson School, we have our SRO officer who is typically in that back area where that Ann Place entrance is, and now that it's two ways, we're going to need some additional traffic guidance there. And then we also have school personnel who are going to be in that new crosswalk that enters through the cafeteria, and we will have personnel at the front of the school as well. You have a crossing guard on Mill Road, right at the school zone area in front of Ann Hutch. Usually you see them in the vest, and that is for Ann Hutchinson. We do have some families who've asked us to talk about crossing guards that go further beyond the school campus and premises. I don't have that confirmed as of right now because, again, these are town employees who are hired through the town of Eastchester, but we are actively working with Eastchester and with our own personnel to see if there are ways in which we can place people there. But in terms of the on-campus and the immediately around the campus, we have people stationed. Thank you.
Any other questions? Jill?
Just to add on to that, where the crossing guards are, because of the extended school hours, earlier 20 minutes or so or whatever it may be, and the latter part, are the hours the crossing guards going to be there also potentially extended? Because I do know that the window is very short, so to the extent that they miss it or they're staying later or there's they're asked to go to school earlier, is that going to be adjusted?
So I think what I can do is I can look into the exact times for what their shift is. Because there's an actual, I believe that's like a 2-hour window of some sort on the beginning and the end. And if I can get start times, maybe I could report that in my next report.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
Sorry, just really quick. Can you repeat around this, the state emergency funds? Just to clarify, I kind of missed a couple of
Sure.
points there around, we've submitted for approvals on certain needs that we have, correct? And if that
Absolutely.
gets, I'll let you explain. Go ahead.
Yes, yep. So there are multiple approvals that we have to go through before we get an official, yes, we will now, it's essentially a reimbursement process. Yes, we will now reimburse you for what you have submitted. We got a total of $2 million in state emergency funds. $1 million from Assemblywoman Amy Pollan. That is all specific to capital. And capital means that it's infrastructure changes, construction, it can be for technology, very specific items. From Senator Shelley Mayer, we received $500,000 in capital, which falls under the same category as the Assemblywoman's. And then we have $5,000 where there's less parameters on it. It doesn't have to necessarily specifically, I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's much more fluid money. Now, none of it has been dispersed to us. It's not a check that we receive and suddenly we can go and spend $2 million. We then have to show a description, we have to show quotes and invoices, and seek approval for whether or not it qualifies. The first level was just to say, look, we have technology needs, here's a list of items, did that get approved? They gave us a loose approval to then go and find some more detailed quotes to put that forward. We're now in that phase where we're at the detailed quotes. So the items that we've put forward thus far, and we've not put forward $2 million worth of items, we have to be very specific, is we have some AEDs, some defibrillators, which are now required by the state of New York to put into our school district. We always had them, but we have to update them to the current models. We have a auditorium rigging system that has been pushed off year over year at the Eastchester High School. That is ultimately something that the art department needs, but it is a safety piece that houses all the lights and such, so that has been put forward. Infrastructure for technology in terms of switches, as well as some of the refurbishments and replacements for aging laptops and such for instructional use has also been put forward. We had also renovations in some antiquated plumbing and bathroom renovations that needed to be had, but they were taken away from the budget in the cuts. So we put that forward as well. And so once we see if we get a green light on them, we will start that work and get that going. In addition, you'll see some of just like the striping on the parking lots, a little bit of the seal coating. You'll also see some of the widening of driveways. That is also some construction work that would fall under capital.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we are up to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve items under consent agenda? Chrissy?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda, which includes the following: 6 personnel agenda, 7 pupil personnel recommendations, 8 committee on preschool special education recommendations, 9 business office recommendations.
Thank you, Chrissy. Do I have a second? Christine? Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Okay, thank you. And we are now up to future meeting dates. Our next meeting, September 15th, regular meeting, and September 29th, we have our board administrative retreat. Okay, now we're up to comments from the public. When you come up, please state your name and address for the record. We welcome all public comments and feedback, but please be aware that we will not exceed 30 minutes for this portion of the evening, and each person has a hard stop at 3 minutes. As a reminder, this is not a question and answer format, and refrain from mentioning any individual by name. If you would like a broader discussion on a specific topic or topics, please contact the superintendent's office. Thank you. Yes, please come up.
Good evening, Brian Miller, 30 Downer. I actually didn't intend to discuss the bus stuff today. I thought we discussed it quite a lot at Molino's. It's really a shame that none of you were there from the trustees because you really needed to hear the feedback from the community. There's a lot of it, a lot of good suggestions, a lot of important stuff. The fact is actually the town said they're having trouble recruiting enough crossing guards. The questions asked now about that, very pertinent. I know our recruiting for crossing guards, the hours and all that needs to be discussed. Other things as well. Dr. Villanueva, you said that regarding the calculations, we're not getting the data and mileage, not to the depth we'd like. I don't know what that means. That's alarming. Also, one more semantic point, not to quibble, but you keep calling it a change in routine, but this is upheaval in people's lives. It's not a change in routine. This is not, this construction one day. This is upheaval in people's lives. That's meant to be permanent, but not if I have anything to say about it. The fact of the matter is that again, you needed to hear the feedback. There are recordings of it. Perhaps you would like to hear it at some point from those who have them. I have a different question, actually. I asked this back a couple months ago regarding the financing for the district. The fact is, 5 years ago, or 4 years ago, we voted on a capital project, $75 million. The idea was for serial construction bonds to be issued, right, to finance that. That's how it's always done. Usually you do a bond anticipation note, a ban, for a year or less, and then you redeem that, and you have 30-year, 15-year, 20-year construction bonds. That hasn't been done. Every year, the board has redeemed those one-year financings for more money. 23 was 15.6, 24 was 29.5 million, 25 was 50 million, 2026, it's $73.45 million. The district owes, January 22nd of 27, $73.45 million. Interest rates are going up. And the fact is we haven't taken advantage of the lower interest rates and the advantageous financing payments from the buyers that were available heretofore. Why has it not been done? I looked into it. The official statement for the financing actually says that pursuant to the resolution that was adopted in March of 2022, one person alone can actually decide how all that debt is done, the president of the board. The last several years, it was a different gentleman, now a different lady now. I don't know what you guys are planning to do, why it was done that way, who's advising you. I think your advisor is it FNMA or something like that? Who's advising this and why? The fact of the matter is, other districts are selling bonds for 118% of face value, 120% of face value. That's free money. 20% of $73 million is 14 and change million dollars free from people paying over face value. Why aren't we doing that? I asked this question back in May, followed up on May 31st, June 5th. I was promised an answer by Dr. V or Ms. Carlin, and I haven't heard anything yet. I'd love to have an explanation because that's a huge part of the budget. There was almost $1 million extra just in ban interest in this coming year's budget. What's going on? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
If I could just make a very quick point of clarification to the gentleman's comments, I would just say, Dr. V and Ms. Carlin, perhaps it would be prudent for you to have a conversation with the gentleman, clearly not in this forum, because this is not a back and forth on the bans and why the financing is structured as it is. because as the former board president sitting next to the current sitting board president, we don't unilaterally cash in bonds for the school district as an individual. So just to make that very, very clear, there is an entire finance team and a business office with outside advisors in terms of our debt financing. So I think to your questions, I think in deeper specificity, I would leave that to Dr. Villanueva and Ms. Carlin to have an audience with you to go through that, but just for a point of clarification for the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, if there's no other public comments, I'm going to ask for a oh, yes?
Walter Kowalski, 32 Downer. I would just like to piggyback off of what Brian said. I don't think that conversation should be held just between the decision makers and Brian. I think everybody in this district needs to hear about our debt financing. And maybe we need new advisors. If they haven't been advising you to get that free money, maybe there needs to be some sort of, look within. I know Dr. Villanueva had said that, the board and herself holds themselves accountable. Well, if you've done something wrong or could do something better, how about we do it? It's like, oh, we'll just cut the buses, no big deal. It's an inconvenience or new routine. But this is legitimate stuff. I think Brian used the word upheaval. So I would suggest, and I would prefer, if anything about debt financing was made publicly, whether at a meeting or maybe you can put a mailer out or an email. I think that's very important. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Ryan Savarese, 33 Country Club. Just a really quick, I guess it's a question. I wasn't aware, is there, for the out-of-district students, the busing, are they now being collected at the high school going forward? Versus their homes? I got a notification today, and I'm surprised, especially with all the changes going on at the school, if that's the case. It's kind of, if there was a conversation on it, I haven't seen it anywhere.
Sure. So Southwest BOCES, Southwestern SW BOCES is what we call it. The consortium there takes care of all the busing for our out-of-district students. And I believe we have now consolidated stops. Instead of doing door-to-door pickup, they are doing more consolidated pickups so that they can also, because as part of the consortium, the transportation costs are very high there as well, try to find ways to mitigate the costs of transportation there. It's not only for Eastchester, because it's a consortia.
It's Tuckahoe as well.
Tuckahoe, Bronxville, Eastchester, and
But
Pelham.
how is that, with all the changes going on within how crazy like pickup and drop off is going to be, then you have out-of-district kids that have to get picked up at similar time frames. It's going to be a little bit chaotic, I would think.
So again, SW BOCES does all of that pickup for us and all of the routing, and so we can certainly connect with them to see what that is like. We don't have huge amounts of students who are getting picked up, so.
I mean, this was a particular full bus, but I am surprised because nowhere in any of this dialogue has it been mentioned, and today was the first day that I actually received notification, to my surprise, as well as other parents. It was quite surprising.
Yeah, that is, I can certainly give that feedback to SW BOCES to let them know that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Megan Lucas. I am at 38 Tudor Lane in Green Knolls. I know it's not a Q&A, but I did want to just flag that there had been from the middle school and the high school a late bus, and I haven't heard any sort of communication if that still exists moving forward. So in future communications, if that can be clarified for any sort of after-school clubs or that sort of thing, and who is eligible, does that also restricted to the, now busing? So just a request for some of that information before school starts.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no other comments, I'm going to ask for a motion to return into executive session. Christine, thank you. Second, Sean, all in favor? Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a great night.